Formula One Fans of America, Season 2, Episode 13. I am your host, Rich. I've got a new background, and it's also the causation of why we didn't have an episode last week is because my horrible European internet. I seem to have the issue resolved, so now we get to do an episode this week, but apologies to our viewers and listeners. Sorry we missed out on last week, but Canada was a good race, and there were some we were right moments that came about from Canada. Honestly, I don't know if you guys remember this, but four of the topics that we'd had in that episode immediately came out.
Yes, that's true.
Into F1 news.
Like
to the point where it was like, are we predicting the future? Yeah, it was right crazy. After the show.
Within 45 minutes to an hour, one after the other. And it was like exactly the same topics. Yeah, it was crazy.
It's like either somebody at F1 Media is watching Formula One Fans of America, or we're just clairvoyant, or I'm just really good as a producer in coming up with these topics. I don't know.
Could be all of the above.
It was also weird because we were talking in the pre-show warm-up about the Ferrari 14s coming out, and then they had like a very odd off-season drop and a re-release. So that was neat. But yeah, just a lot of weird clairvoyant coincidences that happened from our last episode. But getting to the we were right, we were wrong, our typical topic and how we lead off the show. We've been definitely proven right time and again about Oscar Piastri and our predictions from last season rolling into this year.
Yes.
And he has kept us honest week in, week out. So far, Oscar Piastri has won 45.5% of the races. And we're nearly halfway into the season. And so that's pretty significant when you look at him. And when you look at him as the driver that he is, no team orders this past weekend, no team orders the week before. We saw that collision and what happened. We had literally called that. Like, this is going to come to a head where papaya rules are going to be disposed and these guys are going to come into contact. And sure enough, the next week, that's exactly what happened in Canada. And Lando gracefully admitted it was his fault. It was a stupid mistake. He was pushing too hard, and that's just what happened. It didn't seem like he beat himself up too much, which was good. And he rebounded. We'll get into some Lando Norris a little bit further on. I don't want to dispel anything so far because we're going to talk about him a little bit more.
Okay. But
safe to say that we were right. Lance Stroll proved me right. The home race curse continues. So far, Leclerc is the only one that's beaten it and podiumed at his home race. Everybody else has had pretty dismal results at their home track. So I hope this breaks. Like, I'm not cheerleading for this, by the way. Like,
right.
I want good home races for these drivers because it means so much for them to represent their nation and to be at their home. Yeah. And it sucks when you can't put together a good performance for them and your fans at your home track. So I do hope this changes and shifts. Stroll let me down. Yeah. And it just doesn't seem to change there. But can we talk about this current week? Gabby got driver of the day because his first points in a Sauber.
Yeah.
Applause to him. He drove well. He did not drive as well as my man, Nico Hülkenberg. And Hulk smash another time this weekend, P20 to P9 into the points in a Sauber.
I would say that the really interesting perspective on this should be the emergence of Audi as a team next year. Audi has to be really happy with what they're seeing happening right now. I know I would be, right? They came into the sport, came into the idea of being in the sport, knowing that they were picking up a backmarker team, and knowing that they would have the opportunity, obviously, to change that. But to see the progress that they've made so far, right on the cusp of the halfway point of the season, with Audi coming in, starting technically in January, because, testing will be in January this year. It'll be 12 months of Formula One next year because of the change in the regulations. The people over at Audi have to be feeling really good.
I would agree. Yeah, like it's a good look into the future and what's to come for them. you've got a performant driver in Nico Hulkenberg. And, I'm a big Hulk fan. Like, I was a big fan of him with Haas and the way he can take a middling car in a struggling backpack car into the points. And anytime it happens, it just makes me happy. I don't know. Obviously, we didn't have either Red Bull in the points. There's 2 places ahead of them. And we didn't have either Williams finishing either. So, yeah, like 4 key opponents for them not finishing the race or not scoring any points. Yuki back of the pack. Jay, I want to kick this over to you, because that's your boy. And how hot is this seat, this RB2 seat right now, after this weekend and after the last several weeks where, whether it's his fault or not, Yuki is not putting up numbers and he's doing no better than Checo was, correct or not?
So I will actually disagree, because he is doing better where Liam was, where Checo was for the last 8 races of the season, I think it was. Yuki's already scored more points, so he's already winning on that front. But as far as that car goes, even Max is now starting to be like, this is completely unfucking drivable. And you have somebody who's literally taming fucking beast for the past 6 years saying, I can't even fucking do this. Get fucked.
It is one of those things, sorry to interject, but you're absolutely right there. It is seemingly more of the car and what's going on. I question whether the absence of Newey is being felt now as aero upgrades start to come in. And
let's put it this way.
It doesn't seem like they have it well balanced. And if Max can't drive it and is complaining about it, then something's seriously wrong. And I do think you need to give Yuki the benefit of the doubt there. But go ahead, Fabian.
There's a direct correlation that is unavoidable between Newey's departure and what's going on with this car. It's just not avoidable. If it was a momentary thing at the start of the season and then it corrected itself or it improved, then you could logically come to the conclusion that the Newey factor might have been part of that reason early on, but they were able to engineer themselves around it now. But that's not the case.
So
go ahead.
Here's where I'm thinking it happened, because we've all heard about, what was it, Barcelona, I believe, where the new floor came in, and that's where the problem started, where Checo was saying there's something wrong, there's something fucking wrong, and everything like that. But at that point, Newey was still well into it. And I think the problem is that they just, and it fucking pains me to say this, I think they just looked at it as Checo trying to find any excuse for why his form fell off. So, but hold on.
Go ahead.
And by the time they were able to reverse course, it was too late. They were too deep into monetary wise into developing this and trying to fix it that way after that. Instead of just reverting back to how the RB19 was and re-going, they would be wasting probably 30, 40, 50 million trying to redesign. So there's not much I can do. And that was a Newey designed upgrade. That wasn't a fucking thing, unless if Newey has it all planned out for the entire 2 years of upgrades and didn't tell a single soul, which I don't think he would have. But because realistically, you have to look at last year's car is still being quoted as his. Even if he didn't touch a fucking thing on it, it doesn't matter. So are they trying to do what Newey was doing with maybe a key component? Did Newey maybe snap off a piece fucking on his way out of the factory and just grabbed it and fucked the whole car all the way up? We don't know. But saying that it was all based on that is kind of myopic. Realistically, they've been saying for years that, Newey came up with the concepts, but it was up to the engineers to push it. And I get not having the concepts anymore, or a partial part of the concepts. But at the end of the day, you can redo it. I mean, Ferrari changed 99% of their car coming into this year.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was just a bad developmental path, and they're too fucking stubborn to reverse course.
That's a fair point, and probably a factor. Also, though, consider the timeline of what went on with Newey. Right, he announced his departure from Red Bull sometime around whatever it was. It was Miami, right before Miami.
I thought he announced before Miami, like
okay,
before
I think no, it was in that window of time, so it was really
Okay.
right around that window of time, and then he started his gardening leave. Okay, so if you're talking about when was the Miami Grand Prix in 2024, I'll have to look that up. But if you look at when,
May.
so
May, I think the first weekend in May.
Right.
I think
So
yeah.
take that into consideration. You know, he's developed the car. He announces his departure. He goes on gardening leave. I mean, that's a incredible window of time for him not to have been anywhere near and or around or in contact with Red Bull, you know. And so you fast forward that to, and then he starts, you know, with Aston Martin in March. And again, his focus was already on 2026. Even at Aston Martin, he has not been involved with this car at all. Right? So you look at like when was the last time that Adrian Newey touched a car, quote unquote? Well, shit, that was the offseason of 2023. That's a long time.
So you're saying he has no responsibility for the arguably the greatest car ever created?
No.
He just
You said
touch
off
it.
season of 2023, and he didn't touch it. 2023 was the year that they won 19.
Yeah. No, not talking about that car. At the end of the 2023 off season begins in December.
Okay.
2023.
Yeah.
Right.
I was looking at it as the actual physical year. So
I know. You and I always look at things that way. It's okay. So December 2023 is when the offseason began, and it goes until March. So already, so from May of 24, Newey's out of play. You dig? And not in contact with Red Bull or anything. So that's
right. But the problem
frame.
started during 2023, though, like during Barcelona. So that was still a Newey upgrade. That's what I'm getting at.
I hear what you're saying.
So
Barcelona was when in 23? What time of year was that?
June, probably.
Okay. Interesting. So that makes it even worse then. I mean, what it really is showing then is that when Newey's already now focusing on because you would think, let me just get your guys' opinions on this. In 23, mid-year, Newey would be already deep in the throes of development of the 2024 car. Would he not?
So I don't know, because what race was it that Newey was checking out the zero pods on the Mercedes? Because it was early in the year, because they did that hard switch to the Spec B. I just don't remember when it was. You muted yourself.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't know exactly. I'm just logically applying like the timeline in my brain. So I'm thinking, Newey develops that 23 car in 2022. They get rolling March with testing. The races start. You get to the June, which is kind of like right before the summer break. You've got a car you got to develop in 2024. My thinking is that with the season ending in December, which is 6 months, that there's a lot of focus that shifts to that next cycle, and that the structure, the infrastructure around the process is supposed to support what's already on the field, is my thinking, at least. It could be complete nonsense on my part, but just looking at the timeline and the way things have progressed and waxed and waned and fallen off, it does seem like there's a correlation between Newey's announcement of his departure, his gardening leave, and what has happened with the Red Bull car. There seems to be a correlation with that.
So that was the Qatar Grand Prix that he was looking at it.
Okay, what was that? When was that? Cutter,
Ugh, fuck.
guitar.
I don't even remember.
And neither me. And I'm not gonna sit here and search it, but it's just a really interesting confluence of occurrences where ultimately the common denominator is his hands off of the vehicle, right? Like he's not directing, he's not commiserating with, he's not talking to these people. They've got the ball is on the court, and they're responsible now for making sure that it's doing what it's supposed to do. And that's where the faltering seems to have begun. So it's really interesting stuff. And putting my head in Max's mind, and with the way things are tracking, which is not getting better, right? It's not stabilized, it's not improving, it's not getting better. In fact, many could say reasonably that it's getting worse. I would be really concerned about putting my eggs in that basket again.
Yeah, Max is either going to be in black or fucking green next year. There's no questions in my mind at this point.
Yeah.
Like, he has one race left two races left to fall into fourth place to break his contract. You'll be able to tell, like, there was no damage to Max's car yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And he just immediately shut it off, got out, and went and watched 24-hour Le Mans.
Well, no, it was damaged. You didn't see the damage?
I didn't think it was that damaged. Like, from the looks that I saw of it, didn't look that damaged.
No.
Hang on.
No, it was damaged. It was definitely damaged.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it was damaged.
Because I saw Kimmy's front axle completely broke.
Yeah. No, it was.
So I assumed there was some side pod, but not like.
It was pretty significant. I mean, he T-boned it, so they knew immediately that there was nothing he was going to be able to do with that. That's why they carted it out there.
It just took me 5 minutes of searching on the internet and eventually asking ChatGPT who replaced Adrian Newey as chief designer at Red Bull.
Mm-hmm.
It's Pierre Wash. I don't know how you say it.
Wyke.
Whatever.
Oh, okay.
Fuck the French. I don't care.
Stop.
I ain't gonna try to pronounce your
How was
shit,
your
right?
baby boy?
Hey, he's doing good this year. I have suspended my hate for Esteban Ocon. He's a good dude. I would like to get a drink with him sometime. I think he'd be cool to hang out with. Just because I see his personality more. But yeah, like I don't know, man. Do you guys think that this gives any credence to Checo? Maybe not necessarily tanking, and like a lot of people
was in his own head,
kind of living in the moment too. Well established from us that Checo was in his own head, but beyond that, do you think that was like a combination of factors? Then, like the car not being up to where it needed to be.
Let me tell you this. One thing about Checo is he's part of the Red Bull ecosystem. He was partnered with Max. He was there with Adrian Newey and Christian Horner. As much as I despise Christian Horner for so many different reasons, he knows what the freak he's doing as a team principal. Okay,
for certain.
Which is why
there's the behind the scenes that we don't get to see, right, where he gets that insight into Checo's mentality.
Right. So getting back to Checo, you've got him in the Red Bull system with Newey, Max, and Christian Horner. That's the dream team of F1 for the last 4 years.
But Checo, if Newey didn't touch the car last year, and the car sorry,
doesn't matter. Checo had the benefit of those years of being symbiotically connected to one of the best constructs of personnel in the history of the sport. So he absolutely has learned how to communicate with engineers, understand how to provide feedback. He's listened to the back and forth and the feedback between Newey, Horner, and Verstappen. I mean, that's a big growth spurt for Checo. That's why he's so valuable to people like Cadillac and others right now, is because of that. Not because of him, but because of what he's been a part of. That's really important it's called, institutional knowledge or organizational knowledge. What he carries in terms of that intel is enormous. And his ability to provide feedback to a fledgling team is going to be huge because of that.
I completely and wholly agree with that. And like I do think he deserves a second chance because I don't think he was the driver that he showed us on, in his last season, right?
Right.
And I do think that Jay's right as well. And we were right when we called it. I think his mentality changed after that crash last year at Monaco, where his car
Before that.
Oh no, that was Monaco. No, it was Monaco where it happened.
It was Monaco.
No, that
where
was a crash, but no, his fucking mentality was fucked at the end of last 2023 season. Completely. Dude, he pinned it. How many fucking times did he bin it in 2023? Go look it up.
He can't. I don't care about 2023. He came out scoring fucking points in 2024.
He was doing okay.
He came out doing very well at the start of 2024. So you can't say that shit, dude. He was like 1-2 with
that Monaco crash. Definitely was a seminal
for like
moment
the first three races.
Checo. That really punched him in the gut. That was the one where you said the show, Jay. That was the show we did right after that race where you said, "quote Yeah, he's got kids at home."
Yes. And that was
and I was like, wow.
Okay. Hold on here, you guys. Hold on.
He was one of three
fifth,
fathers.
Third, sixth, second. I'll give you those two.
Right.
Fourth, 11th.
Okay.
Did not finish.
Fifth, third, second, fourth. Fifth, third, second, fourth. Nobody's done that since.
That's the fuck we're talking about. Like he came out and was performing in the first several races of the year. And then that Monaco crash, it came unglued. Which is like the seventh race?
He lost
sixth,
it
seventh,
that.
eighth race of the year.
Okay, so now the year before, second, first,
agreed.
PL, third, first, 20th in Monaco, 11th, 12th, 15th, 15th, 9th, 2nd, 7th, 5th, 13th, 5th, 20th, 9th, 5th, 9th, 11th, 9th. That is in the RB fucking 19. Get the fuck out of here. His head wasn't already fucked coming into that season.
Come on, dude. You telling me for a second seat driver next to Max Verstappen that mostly finishing in the top 10 is...
I'm not saying that like him not finishing or him being in the top 10 is
so
not
glad
great.
you were not my grammar school teacher because I would be a disaster. I'd be a serial killer somewhere.
Oh, all right. RB2
all I'm saying though is
like,
that his head was already in a fucking bad place because he has everybody fucking with him because of the previous season, and then with the RB19, which we all agree here is arguably one of the greatest cars ever in F1 history, if not the greatest.
Rob Lewis.
Okay, glad we had that
championship, but yeah.
That was the
all
RB17
I'm saying is he came back last year and started the season off well until that crash at Monaco, and that's what derailed last year's season, and ultimately ended his career, right? And I know F1 is live in the moment and tends to be live in the moment when it comes to results, and everybody like hyper reacts to poor performance in F1 after a few races. Fortunately, Red Bull does not do that. Like as of lately, like they didn't do it with Checo. They gave him time, right? And more than enough chances to course correct. They've been doing that with Yuki. We started this with the question of how hot is this seat for Yuki right now?
I don't think it's hot at all right now. I really don't.
Do you think he still gets time because of the car, because of engineering and everything we just listed? I hope so. I think he should, and he deserves it. And I do agree with you that it is more the car than it is him. And for all the reasons we just listed in detail, we're in alignment on that. And that's good because like we talked about the fickle nature of that seat and how they've turned away some good drivers, like Pierre Gasly's still performing.
Pierre Gasly was not ready to come up. Like, and I will scream this from the fucking rooftops. Him and Albon were not ready to come up, but they were so used to Max and Kvyat coming up and being able to race, and Danny and fucking Vettel. All four of those were ready to race in the main seats.
We made the analogy. Yeah. We made the analogy to other sports, but it's like, I'll make this one. It's like drafting a high school basketball player into the NBA,
Kobe.
And you're expecting them to come up and perform like exactly like a tenured professional, but you're only going to get that from a handful of guys.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's like almost a coin toss of mentality, because we've talked about this extensively too, that just the mentality of these youngsters and like the issues of, we covered this several times, but the 6 rookies on the grid, and you have these younger junior mindsets, and like there needs to be somewhat more time for development, especially because you only get maybe 1, possibly 2 shots if you're well integrated into the F1 system. But really, like, there's a lot of people only getting 1 shot here. And like, yeah, for a 19, 20 something year old kid, it's almost not enough,
Oh yeah.
I don't want to beat that dead horse, but I think we're all in alignment here too. Like, it's just, yeah, it's a hot seat. Thankfully,
I don't think it's going to be a hot seat
Yuki
at all coming up.
Well, do you think that they've maybe learned from that, of like recycling through it and firing people? No.
Nope.
What do you think the cause is then? Yeah,
Max is leaving. They know Max is leaving. They need somebody in there that has been in their program for a decent amount of time, whether that be in the V carb or whatever. They know Max is going to walk. Like, at this point, you have to know it.
I want to postpone this point to later on,
asshole,
for the appropriate segment. Can we talk about what a rough weekend Williams had? Because fuck me.
Before I forget though, because I did want to comment on what you said about the Canadian crash between Lando and Oscar.
Yes, go.
This shit, that wasn't a crash. That was a mistake.
Fair.
This is what fucking Oscar almost pulled in Austria. That would have been a crash, where literally he came over like this on Lando's back wheels. And I'm like, oh shit, here we go. I was like, do it, fuckers. But to no go. I think we're going to see Piastri actually start to lose his shit if Lando can pull in front of him. Because I do actually, because like, while I agree with you that he is very ice cold and everything like that, we're also looking at that from a lead.
No, I think he's ice cold while he's racing wheel to wheel, and I don't see.
No. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying from a lead, like as in the standings. We're seeing him either be so far out of place that there is zero pressure on him, which was last year, or we're seeing him now with a healthy margin as far as a lead. But he also knows that if Lando hits a hot streak, that fucking pull diminishes. Like, and then he's in a true dogfight. And I think he's still young enough that he is not ready for that type of fight. I don't think Lando is either. I really think we're going to see 2016 all over again if it gets close enough. And I can't fucking wait.
I don't, man. I wholly disagree with you about the mentality of Oscar. And I think that he's got more composure at his age than anyone else on the grid. And he just keeps it together. I think he's absolutely ready and prepared for this dogfight and welcomes it. I see him maintaining composure when it's going wheel to wheel, and he doesn't lose his shit the way Lando does. He doesn't overreact and act like a petulant child on the radio or to the media. There's nothing that you...
I'm not saying Lando's mature here.
Or that
I've just got twisted.
Jesus Christ, no. What I'm telling you is like everything you just said you could say about Lando Norris, but I don't think you could say about Oscar Piastri, because I think he's proven you wrong several times. And when he gets into a dogfight in a wheel-to-wheel race, he does not lose his composure. He is the only one that's keeping it. And it's going to be Lando that makes mistakes.
Well,
and I think you're discounting the propensity for Lando to lose his head, lose control in his temperament, and to make the mistake. And if you're going to, if you want to talk about it, let's put money on it. I bet you any incident involving Lando and Oscar for the rest of the season will be wholly Lando's fault. And it will be Lando's mentality and his mental error. It will never be Oscar's mental error. Ever.
I'll put $1 on that.
I'll put $1,000 on it. I'll pay for your tent at Spa.
Out of here with that shit.
Take the free ticket to Spa, dude. Go ahead. Get it. Go after it.
I'll give you 4-1 odds. I'll give you 4-1 odds that Oscar Piastri
How long have
will
you
not
known me?
cause.
How long have you known me? And
I'll
how many bets have
give
you actually seen me take for more than $1? Okay.
Well, hey, 4-1
You're
is
lucky
4
you
to
don't want
1.
to bet. I was going to say, I'll give you 4-1 odds that Oscar Piastri
So
will never
I'm gonna
be.
say this
state
now that
crash
you guys
Lando.
have hacked at this for a minute, and you know where my mind is because I've been watching Oscar for a long time, right? Like I've been at this Oscar thing for a bit. I agree. I think that if a mistake is to be made in a McLaren car because it's the heat of battle for the championship, it's going to be Lando that makes the mistake, not Oscar.
Now you watch what's going to happen in Silverstone. He's going to fucking get yeeted into the wall, or
Well,
he's going to yeet himself into the wall.
So yeah, right. I know, really. Silverstone is actually really going to be interesting, I think, because
there's really only 2 races I'm looking forward to this year. Silverstone, Brazil. That's it. All the rest of the tracks are kind of like.
Well, Silverstone, Silverstone is a fast, technical track. Ferrari came with the upgrade at the right time. To possibly be able to capitalize on something like that. McLaren is clearly the front runner for all things podium, no question. I mean,
but what you're forgetting is the track this week is not going to be warm.
It's not. It's going to be cool.
That does not suit McLaren
also
whatsoever.
It suits Mercedes.
Which
it suits Mercedes.
Maybe George will eat somebody.
Well, Kimmy's got good resolve. So he'll come back strong, I think, this week.
I think Kimmy's going to race scared this week.
I don't think so.
I'm not saying like full out, like, oh my God, I'm going to finish last. I'm
going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why I don't think so. And this is just my crazy thinking, right?
Oh,
but
boy.
at 18 years old, right? At 18 years old, you drive for Mercedes. You've had your first podium. You're one of the 4th youngest drivers to ever do a podium. You literally screw it up magnanimously in the first lap and take out the world drivers champion, the reigning champion, and get out of the car and walk straight up to the guy and mea culpa. That doesn't give me the mindset of a kid that can't bounce back. That shows me that Kimi Antonelli not only is a great driver, but the mental foundation that he's working with no frontal lobe is way better than I would have given him credit for. That's what I believe, honestly.
So
that kid, and then he went to the hospitality to go and apologize to Christian and all the rest of them.
Oh, I'm not taking anything away from Kimi. Don't get it twisted. I'm
talking about the mentality of it. We're talking about the mentality. You said you think he's going to drive scared. I don't think he is.
If you claim that, if you say he's going to drive scared next week, you are taking.
Can I actually finish what I was saying here?
Okay,
because everybody decided they want to fucking interrupt me.
Let me
go back to the potty, Rich.
Let me stroke your beard.
Anyways,
let me stroke your beard a little bit. Come here.
Yeah, I'll give you something to stroke, bitch. Anyways, no, what I was saying is that he's going to be a lot more cautious. Like he's not going to take the huge risks, and that's what I'm saying by scared. If you think for 3 seconds he's going to get anywhere near Max's car right now in a corner,
I don't think he's afraid of it.
I don't think so either.
I just don't think he's afraid of it.
I'm with Fabian all the way. Dude. Like, I'm not trying to gang up on you on this, but
I just don't think the kid's afraid.
He's proven the mentality. He's confident in this car. There's a difference between like being afraid and being confident, and he has proven that he was confident. I do want to shift away from this. All right, Jay, unless you ever rebut, but I just don't see it. I think he's got good mentality and good mental strength and fortitude, and he's going to rise above this. He acknowledged and accepted the mistake as his own. He owned it, and he's going to move on from this. I honestly think too that Max's interview post race is going to bolster his confidence. Max
Everyone's
said it,
done this.
Everyone has made every driver has made a mistake like this.
And I'm not disagreeing with that part, but every driver.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can I finish my
sentence?
Had this accident.
Oh, now you know how it feels, huh, motherfucker? Anyways, every driver that has had an incident, the next race they came back fucking cautious. All of them. Every single one.
I still disagree. I still hold it. I don't think it's going to phase him at all. I think he's going to bounce back. He bounced back from, what was it, like a spin earlier this year? He like had spun off or had
he's
like
had
a
two of those.
qualifying.
He's had 2 or 3 spins and continued on. He's been in the gravel and gotten out several times. He's managed not to put it in the wall since he put it in the wall in the freaking testing that he did.
Yeah,
at
Imola?
Whatever that was, Imola and Parabolica. Like the dude
No,
has
that was
been
Monza.
Monza. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, like, I almost feel like a deja vu moment where I'm like patting the young man on his back.
Sorry.
Like
My Ferrari juice is interfering.
for like having the fortitude and having the mental resolve to like bounce back, and like comparing him against Lando, where it's like you can see the stark difference in contrast in the way that they bounce back. And so I just think Kimi's going to roll with the punches. He got the team behind him, and you see Toto saying it. He did all of the right things, and because he did all those right things and was so apologetic afterwards in the paddock in the courtesy room, like that's what led to Max being like, "Hey, nobody does this on purpose, right?"
Yeah.
You know, like this was a driver error, a mistake,
Bottas.
a mistake.
Well,
mistake that we've all made.
Did you hear Alex Jakes say? Oh no, it was Coulthard. Actually, which surprised me. That really surprised me. Now that I remember who said it, he said, "Well, Max would have sent it even more than that in the same situation."
You know,
which was
DC
really
is a
interesting.
motherfucker.
Yeah,
well, he's a Red Bull sycophant. I mean, come on. So for him to say, "Well, Max would have sent it even harder than that," so it wasn't that bad. And then Toto even followed up with, "We have to look at why it locked up the way it did." Like they were concerned about, like, because Kimi wasn't expecting to get the kind of lockup that he got, and like you said, I lost the car, and then I just couldn't stop.
Yeah.
So tearing a big, he tore a football-sized hole out of that side pod.
Did he? I can't see a vision. I can't see any.
I was screen sharing it.
When
it didn't
go,
show
go
up?
ahead and throw it up.
Wait,
again.
Let me get it again.
I didn't see it.
Let me grab it. Give me 1 second, but keep talking. Let's get back to the Williams thing that we diverged from.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh my god. Yeah. So brake lock, like rear brake lock, which was awful. So no start. I honestly didn't see what happened with Albon. I kind of missed it in the chaos of the first lap plus whatever happened. I think Albon went out on lap 15, but I didn't see why. And I don't know why. Do you guys know why Albon stopped?
Looking it up now, dear.
When I was looking it up,
yes,
it was like lap 15 question mark on F1 stats.
There was something going on with the car.
Do you guys think it's an engine thing, a power unit thing? Because there's been Mercedes woes. We've talked about this in earlier episodes. So. I mean, if you look at the stats for the wins, like Mercedes engines is like 90% right now for wins and podiums.
Yeah.
It would be the equalizer. If they were played in the second half of the season, it could cause a lot of controversy and drama and make things very interesting because you got 4 teams on the grid running these engines. And we've had at least 4 power unit failures now, 5.
I would say at least 3 are from Williams, aren't they?
Yes. And then I think this is the 5th power unit failure for Mercedes this year. Because I had 4.
Kimi blew one.
Yes. And it was, inexplicable. And so, like it makes things interesting with the Mercedes engines and what's going on.
Wasn't one of them a brand new engine too?
It was the first weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like that was what was troubling and started spawning kind of spurious thoughts of like, hey, what are y'all doing over there with this power unit? Because these power units are failing. They did say, and like they're going to keep this close to the vest. And they did come out and say like, it was a power unit failure. We're going to figure out what happened and let the teams know. And because it's more than just Mercedes, right? And it happened to one of their drivers. So like, Williams has had 2 or 3 at least of these power unit issues. They cannot be happy. especially if it puts them out of the points, because this makes things far, far more competitive in the constructors than it ordinarily would be. Because right now, Williams is in 5th, Racing Bulls is in 6th, and like that's who they're competing against, because Red Bull's in 4th right now. Ferrari, Mercedes are neck and neck, literally 1 point apart. Can we talk
crazy.
about the Lewis Hamilton experiment now? Can we talk about how this is going? Because Red Bull's issues are good for Ferrari, because Red Bull's now in 4th place in the constructors. And like,
yes,
Ferrari really wants to be, the team to beat, but like they're not going to be, obviously. Like McLaren could perform like Ferrari for the second half of the season and still beat them. But it is down to Ferrari and Mercedes now. And
for second position, you mean?
Excuse me.
In the constructors, you're talking about?
Yes, second in constructors.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Separated by a point.
That's the constructors battle.
Yes.
That's it. Because McLaren is gone.
Yeah, no. Yeah. And the drivers' battle now is a 15-point race between.
That's Rosberg Hamilton 2.0 is what's happening there.
Yeah, Piastri Norris right now. Like, yeah, it's a team race for McLaren. That McLaren car is obviously just flexi wing, whatever you want to call it, however you want to attribute it to them. They just have it down. And they do have two solid drivers.
What did Horner say? That Oscar was making love to his
exhaust
gearbox?
Yeah.
That was great.
So here's my thing, is that we're sitting here hyping up Oscar, everything like that, and whatnot. Let's talk about the fact that Lando kept him behind for 20 fucking laps of DRS.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's have a little discussion on that. I mean, like,
we want
to sit here and say that Lando's like, oh, this head case and everything like that. I can't think of too many drivers on the grid that can handle 20 laps with no mistakes with their fucking cohort up their ass.
As the person
really
who penned an entire piece on Lando's mental issues, I'm also.
Can I before we jump into that, Fabian, please? I would like to retort. You really can't think of another driver on the grid that can handle.
I said I can't think of too many. Open your ears, dickbag.
Okay, so too many. I mean, Oscar Piastri can handle that. His teammate could handle that. Max Verstappen can handle that. I think, Russell can't. Leclerc could handle. Leclerc could.
No, he can't. We've already proven that one.
I think Kimi Antonelli can.
Get fucked. He can't. Never mind. I'm not even going there.
We don't have the sample size to prove.
That's why I stopped.
I'm throwing it in there.
I stopped.
It's fair.
But you can't count that one.
Lewis motherfucking Hamilton. Sir Lewis motherfucking
still
Hamilton.
Can he still do it without the confidence in the car?
I still think so. And like I think like
because
he hasn't had a ton of. I know, but he hasn't had a ton of significant battles this year. So like I do think that like if somebody's barking up him for 20 laps, Lewis has the fortitude, the skill, and the maturity to handle it. Like Alonso, Sainz.
Stop. Fuck off on Sainz. I'm not giving you Sainz. Die.
Hulkenberg?
No.
Yes.
No.
P20 to P9.
You are talking about jumping places versus having somebody pressuring you the entire time to make
wheel
mistakes.
To wheel when Hulkenberg races and a mishap happens.
Am I talking about wheel to wheel here, Fabian, or am I talking about pressure from behind?
Pressure from behind. Okay,
there's a huge fucking difference.
I still think Hulkenberg can handle it and would perform. So, I mean, we're 6 rookies on the grid, and I don't think any of them, other than Antonelli, can handle it.
Well, I will say this about the 6 rookies thing, because this is actually something I talked about in the last episode or so of the season last year. I'm surprised at how well these rookies have performed. I really thought that we were going to see some serious chaos. Okay. Which is why my tagline says cry havoc, which is from Let's Lit the Dogs of War season, right? You know, Shakespeare wrote that and I never forgot it. Cry havoc, the reason why I put it there is because of what occurred with Lando and Oscar last week and because of what I expected to see of Lando and Oscar this week. I didn't get as much of it, but what we got from them was really, really great spectacle. That was great. The rookies, man, they've been okay.
I think the rookies are doing really well. I mean, granted, two of them have already been
33% of the grid.
Like I called
33% of the grid. That's a huge percentage of people that have never been on an F1 circuit with other F1 drivers driving, and yet the crop of rookies has proven to be really good, which speaks volumes for the process, the segue and the process into F1 that has been developed over the years.
Well, that it's getting significantly better in the preparation of these young men for the sport. Like, yeah, thankfully, because we've talked about this, you know, the frontal lobe development and lack thereof, and the influence and impact that's going to have just on normal humans. You can't expect more of this. It's why I do like the analogy of like drafting a high school player into the NBA, because it's like a 50-50 flip of the coin and personality based on what you're going to get out of that person and their performance. And you'll tend to end up getting a lot of flops. It is fair to Jay's point that, like, you know, 2 have been fired already.
Yes.
But you could almost expect that. Can we talk about fuckface stupid hair?
Since
Although I don't want to.
When?
Can we talk about fuckface stupid hair?
Which fuckface stupid hair?
Liam Lawson.
Yeah. What do you mean?
The
fuckface stupid hair?
He's talking about the cockatoo.
The only fucking fuckface stupid hair, and the source of all of our hate and dismay.
Liam is doing a hell of a job right now of
one fucking race.
I know, but
fucking race.
But interestingly, but look at the flip side of the logic, Jay, for a minute. For one time in your four-eyed life, just listen. One race is all it took for him. One race is all it took for him to upend your boy Yuki in terms of performance. He's actually outperformed Yuki in one race. Think about
with 4 people out that are normally up there in the top 10.
Just understand, you got to always be able to look at, you got to be, look, the thinnest pancake has 2 sides. Okay? It does. And I'm not saying that I'm advocating for Liam. That is not what I'm doing. What I'm saying is,
sounds like you got a nice little heart on for Liam right now.
Not at all. It's your beard, baby. It's that beard. Come on.
Outperformed him in one race, but the points
it's just really interesting that
it's 12 points for fuckface, 10 points for Sonoda. Yeah. So it was 2 races, 4 points in one, 8 points in this last weekend.
Yeah.
However, it's one of those things though. Like, do we give Yuki the benefit of the doubt because of the car, because of the design, because of the absence of Nui? Like, what is the crux of Yuki's struggles versus like how much credence do we actually give to fuckface stupid hair?
I can't with you. I really can't, bro.
That's his name. That's his name.
F squared.
That's his name.
F squared. Oh my God.
This is why we can't have nice things, Fabian.
This is why we will never have a real podcast.
Well, this is why nobody's paying us to talk yet. Until somebody pays me to say shit, then the dictation and the tone.
This is exactly why we can't
have It's so good though. It's so good. We still get thousands of views every week, so we'll take it.
I will sell the fuck out to Aston Martin, Saudi Arabia tomorrow. Give us $1 million. This will be the Saudi Aramco Formula One Fans of America podcast.
I got no problem with that, especially considering Max is going to go there next year. So
I think it's going to happen, Jay. I'm with you on this one. But
all right, anyway, so no. Let's launch into this because we're gonna shift into conspiracy corner because there's 2 topics. One of these, and it's simultaneous. Aston Martin or Mercedes? Where is Max Verstappen going next year?
Aston Martin.
Fabian?
Aston Martin.
Mercedes? There's like this Mercedes
hold on.
hubaloo, but do you guys see this the way that I see it, where this is like media jive and bullshit?
So not just
like
that.
there's no chance that Max is going to Mercedes, right?
So there's two tiers of this.
There's a chance.
Okay?
Sure,
There's two tiers of this, and hear me out.
See, this
so
is why we do
run
this.
the contract, you know.
Now, hear me out on this because I think there's two tiers to this. The first one, in his mind, Aston Martin is the only home. Literally the only home. Honda, Newey, money. Done. Okay?
Agreed. 100%.
But on the other hand, you have Mercedes, who the way they're arguing for these engine regs have nailed them wholeheartedly.
That's the smartest thing that I've heard you say since I met your dumbass. Like you really
like a fucking rock, you
peeped
bitch.
out. You actually peeped out the logic behind why Mercedes is arguing so hard for the engine regs. I would have never
It's
given you
not
credit for that.
fucking hard. I'm fucking pretty sure I can go tell my
Rich is
kindergartner this and she'll figure it the fuck out.
I don't know, dude. You've proven me wrong many times, but I'm freaking impressed. Go ahead.
Anyways, but I kind of wonder if Max isn't trolling Toto a little bit for 2021.
That's
because we all know Max is a petty cunt. We know this.
Dude, that's another one that I agree with. Absolutely.
Like, I could see him trolling enough that George signs with like Red Bull or something, and then Max just goes, "I'm going to AM. Bye." That would
now you're screwed, Mercedes, because who are you going to put in the seat? Right. Exactly. Takes them out of 2026 contention right off the bat.
Because Bottas is going to fucking Cadillac, I think, at this point.
I think so.
I really think
he's another great person to be able to give feedback to engineers.
Uh-huh.
I hope so. And like you see the Easter eggs in his social media stuff, you know, where it's like he can't say it yet. He's been talking to them, you know. And yeah, I think that's a safe bet. I would put some money on that bet that Bottas is a Cadillac driver next year.
So he's out as the reserve. You have George going to like fucking Red Bull just to piss off Toto. If George does not have a fucking contract coming out of the summer break, because theoretically that's whenever Mercedes has done a lot of their contracts.
And like big moves and like upheaval too. And it is like a good point of the season. They either do it in the beginning or they'll do it at the home race for the driver they were signing, like they did with Russell, you know, to make a statement. They announced his signing at Silverstone. But otherwise, no, it's like off season or mid season changes. Yep. And it would be interesting.
I would fucking
some changes
die
with the top tier
because
teams.
That would just be the ultimate fuck you. Thank you very much for 2021, you motherfucker. Like, realistically, yeah.
Fabian, I want to bounce back to you and talk about a little bit about Lando, his mentality, the way that he's been going forward. You wrote a beautiful piece this week, and so I want to cover that. Go ahead and kick it off with that for me.
Well, you know, I mean, from my perspective, what's happening is, you know, we've been reasonably critical of Lando in terms of just like trying to make sure that he understands from a fan perspective, it's okay to be real about what's going on with you mentally and all that, but sometimes you can share too much and you're giving your adversaries too much ammunition. But right now, since he decided to get off social media and really, really focus on what matters, which is the Drivers' Championship, he's undergoing a dramatic evolution right now. And it started happening a couple races ago. He's shifting from being like a cautious, thoughtful driver into an aggressive, high-risk competitor. And that confidence is you know, it gives you two things. Like I said, the thinnest pancake has two sides. You've got thrilling performances, you've got costly mistakes, right? And then, you know, with the teammate rivalry, which is now intensified because they're within, 15, 16 points of each other. And there's no clear team leader because McLaren doesn't declare one as such, right? You still have the factor in Lando's world that Piastri is this calm, consistent force, and Norris, being this fiery, emotional guy. But he's got talent. He can push the car to the edge, right? So finally, in Norris's career, he's got this MCL 39 that offers him like this competitive platform where he can seize the moment if he doesn't make mistakes. Sometimes he's a bit too forceful. Other times he's a bit too in his head, and other times he's a bit too cautious, right? So the crash in Canada, for example, and like the aggressive moves, even in Austria, it shows you both his ambition and his volatility is basically what's going on. So this competition is raising the stakes. You've got what could potentially be Hamilton Rosberg 2.0 happening, but you got to always factor in Lando's personal dynamics. There's something about the personal dynamics that you got to pay attention to. McLaren, as a factor in his mental ability, his mental, prowess, his mental focus, they've got to do a balancing act right now since they've not committed to one or the other, right? They got to encourage their drivers to push, but without being reckless, which is what you see Stella trying to navigate right now, because you've had two races where you've seen Lando make a mistake, Oscar possibly, fortunately, not make a mistake, but it was happening, and then he was able to correct it. But Norris has a passion right now to live up to what they've invested in him. That's palpable for him right now. And the question remains is, can he manage the fire? Will he end up consuming all of his potential, managing his mental issues, and possibly his position in the standings? Because right now they are one race away from a DNF podium finish on either side of reestablishing the hierarchy there. So this is a really good position for Lando to be in right now. The question is, has he done enough at this point? And is this the right time with the break coming up for him to get a really good reset, get a good result next week, and possibly really take it to Oscar Piastri?
I do think it's like a purely mental thing with him at this point, right? You can look at the car, and like we've talked about the cars and the struggle with the cars when it comes to like Max and Checo or Max and any other driver. Similarly with Lewis and any other driver, up until this recent with Ferrari, where Leclerc clearly has a handle on the car better than Lewis. But you can see that, and if normally when there's poor performance, every driver's instinct is to blame the car. He doesn't have that luxury now. So it's like, okay, I can't focus on the car. Let me focus on the other aspects of performance and why I'm not doing what I should be doing, and my mental errors, my approach to the race, how this is going to go. I do want to applaud him for shaking the monkey off his back once again, and taking pole to podium and finishing first. Has been like a big thing for him. And he did lose the place to Oscar, for a few laps, but he was able to come back and overcome it and then hold on. And as Jay pointed out, hold on pretty admirably for 20 laps, with somebody literally like up underneath his fucking gearbox, in a car that he knows is just as capable as his own. It's very clear at this point in the season, I think, that McLaren's going to run away with both the drivers and constructors championships. Now it's going to fall in the back for, whoever else. But yeah, I think Lando, if he wants it bad enough, if he stays focused enough, if he corrects his mind during the break and approaches it with like a Zen-like confidence and mentality, he could win the drivers. Like it is completely within the realm of possibility for him. All he needs is Oscar to have one bad race and not finish in DNF. And then he's right there, So I think Oscar is going to withstand the pressure and in the storm and hold on to the drivers. And I think we were right last year when we predicted it that Oscar is going to be the guy to beat for McLaren this year. He's won almost half the races so far. I think the proof is in the pudding with Oscar Piastri, but it does create a lot of drama with Lando. I love just examining this in like the off track type stuff that plays into the on track performance, where it's like, yeah, your mentality, your mindset, your maturity, your ability to bounce back from difficulty. This is exciting to me, and it makes it just more dramatic and obviously gives us stuff to talk about. So I love it all the more. Like, it's just great. Give us more of this shit. This race was very dramatic and changing and influencing in the standings, and also showed like some of these mid-pack teams' performance and shining. We're looking at Sauber now, like, hey, 2 cars in the points. I don't know when the last time that's happened. 2 Saubers were in the points. And I should have looked it up before the episode, but it's been enough time to forget is the point there. But that's pretty crazy. I don't think that they're going to launch themselves up, but if you look at 7th, 8th, and 9th, it's 26, 28, 29 points. There's money on the table for these teams. It's integrally important that they score points now. Alpine, especially because they're in the back with 11 points, facing teams with more than twice their amount. I don't know if they're tanking. We talked about Aston Martin possibly tanking. Somebody should have told Fernando Alonso, because he's been racing the shit out of everybody in the middle and end of the race and fighting for points and fighting to stay in the points. I just think that it's on him as a driver. But it also provides credence that Aston Martin is not tanking. I mean, Haas has a chance to be in 6th place. Like, yeah, the middle of the pack battle is going to heat up, but especially when the bottom teams start battling again, and there's millions and millions of dollars on the line for these teams, and when they're separated by 2-3 points apiece, it's a little exciting for me. I like watching the back of the pack as much as I like seeing the battle at the front with McLaren and Red Bull and Mercedes and Ferrari. What bold predictions do you guys got for Silverstone? I'll go ahead and kick off. So I've got Lewis. I'm going to do Lewis, Lando, Oscar. And then Max and Kimi. Fabian, who you got for Silverstone? You're muted.
That was 6 anyways, wasn't it, Rich?
What is that? Lewis, Lando, Oscar, Max, Kimi.
Okay. I thought I heard one more in there.
Nah.
Lewis, Lando, Oscar, Kimi, and George.
Jay, who you got?
I still want to see Oscar and Lando take each other out. Like, I really do.
So neither of them in the top 5? Or
it's not going to happen, but
yeah.
Well, actually, if it's going to happen anywhere, it's going to be Silverstone or Monza, I think.
Monza makes most sense with the switchback.
So not just that, but you're forgetting about cops in Silverstone. So,
I mean, it didn't
maybe
forget about it. I'm just saying Monza makes most sense.
Out both of them.
Could maybe it happens twice.
That'd be amazing. Like, don't give me that hope. Going to hell for that one. Anyways, so I'm not even going to say Lewis is a bold prediction anymore in Silverstone. It's kind of like a cheap out. So obviously Lewis, Max, Lando, because it's Oscar's turn to take us. So he's going to get taken out.
Okay.
Charles, and Hulk.
I like the Hulk call, man. I think Hulk's my new favorite driver, honestly. Like, I love watching this dude fight so hard. And like I did rewatch it, like because I was like P20 to P9. Like I barely even noticed how well he was doing during the race because of all the rest of the commotion. And then I went back and watched like his on track like view and like watched that for like 20 minutes, and it was just so awesome. Like that dude was dialed in and just consummate F1 driver. Yeah, I love those back of the pack surging up into the points finishes anytime it happens, and it doesn't matter what driver does it. But to go from P20 to P9 is sweet. Like, didn't win driver of the day. Bortoletto got it because he scored his first points in a Sauber. Big whoop-de-doo. He qualified there, finished there. So it wasn't nearly as significant to me as Hulk coming P20 to P9. I just love that. But all right, gents, any final thoughts, or are we going to wrap?
Yeah, other than you skipped the conspiracy corner after you told me to shut up.
Oh, yeah. We were talking. Well, we covered it. Where's Max going to go? Is it Mercedes?
No, what I was saying is that Toto is going to do everything in his power to make sure Max is in fourth. He is not going to give a fuck.
Because of the contract clause that he has?
Uh-huh.
Check.
So as long as he stays in front of, as long as George stays in front of Max right now, I think that's what's going to happen. Now, what would be funny is if in the second half of the year, it's McLaren's turns for the engines to be exploding and Max still gets his fifth driver's championship.
That's what
after he breaks that contract and then gets his fifth still.
It's like bye-bye.
But no, like as far as what I was saying about the conspiracy thing is you really got to think that Toto is looking at it as I could have Kimi, who I think is the next Max, and I could have Max correcting a 10-year-old mistake.
Man, that would be a dynamic duo for sure. And like Kimi with an aggressive veteran and Max, and like Max coaching him and coaxing him to be more aggressive, because Kimi's pretty conservative with his driving style. He doesn't take a ton of dive bombing chances. I blame this recent incident on the car, like somewhat on him for late braking, but more so the car, and like it locked up harder than he expected it to. And I think Fabian pointed out earlier too, as well, like Mercedes was like, oh shit, we need to look at the car. Because that should not have happened for him. And so I don't place the blame on him. And there's been adjustments with him, but like with the tutelage of Max, like I think, God, that would be a crazy duo. And Mercedes would rebound back into being dominant again with the right drivers. And who?
But then you all would
bitch
about fucking Max winning races again.
Fuck no, I wouldn't. Like who? I will acknowledge wholly and fully. Like Max right now is like the best driver on the grid.
He is outperforming the fuck out of that car.
It fully agree and wholly concur. Like I can't say anything. Like he makes other drivers that are tenured and decent in F1 that have performed very well look ridiculous, because he can manage a car and perform and score points and win a championship when other people literally can't even drive it. And it's just him. It's just the instincts. It comes from decades of muscle memory and just persistent training and being slave driven into being an F1 driver. Like he was born and bred into it, literally. He didn't have any other option. So this is what you get when you get that kind of input. And this is the output as a result.
Who says child abuse is ineffective?
Yeah, it's been proven to work in the sport of Formula One. Yeah, that would be an insane pairing, and it could truly bring Mercedes back to prominence. Russell was not their guy as much as they invested into him. Hard to say that Lewis didn't
So
get
I actually
jaded.
disagree with that.
Really?
Mercedes as a brand, George Russell is absolutely their guy. Mercedes as an F1 team,
yeah,
he's not doing bad.
He's a pretty face and a shiny penny. He's performing, but he's no fucking Lewis Hamilton.
I mean, didn't he beat Lewis Hamilton?
For the dude that's saying he's going to win the championship, and he is a solid fourth.
True. Behind a guy in an absolute tractor shitbox.
Yeah. So like it's hard for me to put the stake and the faith into him. Like Lewis is driving a dog shit car and is in sixth, you know?
Yeah.
Solidly behind Leclerc by a good 28 points. But like Russell's not the Lewis Hamilton for Mercedes and the replacement that they wanted or needed for Lewis Hamilton. And like, yeah, it's kind of the point there. But all right, gents, this has been season 2, episode 13. We will be back next week after the results of Silverstone, and then we'll do probably one episode in the 3-week break, and then hopefully Jay and I are going to be linking up at Spa. So looking forward to more excellent coverage. Thank you all for listening. This has been Formula One Fans of America, season 2, episode 13.